Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm John Langs. I'm the Artistic Director of ACT Theater, and I am very glad you're here tonight. Before we begin, I want to start with an acknowledgement that ACT Theater sits on the land of the Coast Salish people. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who stewarded it, including the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish people, past and present. They are this land's first storytellers, in whose footsteps we humbly walk. At the end of 2019, I was introduced to the good people at Trial and Error Productions. They're a Seattle-based company with a mission to support astonishing artists. And with a strong overlap in mission, these two companies, ACT Theater and Trial and Error, came together intending to launch a series of workshops and public readings that would give support to our incredible community of local playwrights. And then COVID hit. We had to take a step back from presenting these readings in public, but the work on the plays goes on in a continued series of workshops that will take place in Zoom rooms. And when ACT Theater comes back, we will come roaring back with a series of public readings and hopefully a full-throated production or two by some of these fine local playwrights. And here they are.
My name is Holly Arsenault.
My name is Andrew Lee Creech.
Hi, I'm Keiko Green.
I'm Brendan Healy.
Katie Forget.
I'm Montaigne Aurore.
My name is Yusuf El-Gindi.
My name is Kirsten Potter.
There's some fantastic playwrights in the city.
There's actually a ton of them.
I think that it's time that we paid a lot more attention to the talent that's here.
It's hard as a local playwright to actually feel like some of the bigger theaters are listening to you or giving you a shot.
I think that there are so many really talented people here.
It's what we've always been asking for, and so it's really exciting to me.
I love the fact that ACT and Trial and Error Productions is doing this.
We have the audience, we have the intellect, we have the artists.
For some of us playwrights, I think it'll be a great opportunity to get in front of a different audience as well.
There is something distinctly different about the energy of an audience who loves to come to new plays.
I think it's so incredibly valuable for established theater audiences to be reminded of where theater comes from.
I'm so excited.
Tonight, to sharpen your appetite for the work of these artists, we are inaugurating a series of discussions. And we first met our two playwrights, Keiko Green and Kirsten Potter, as actors and grew to respect their creativity while we worked together through the core company initiative at ACT Theater. Both of them are multi-talented artists who tapped into their serious curiosity about the world and their sense of daring and their sense of fun and whimsy to craft plays for the ACTLocal reading series. They have honored us tonight by coming here to talk about the stories that they are writing, to talk about their writing process, about being an artist in Seattle, and just about whatever else they'd like to talk about. We have passed the mic over to them. And if you're watching this live, you have a chance to join the conversation by adding your questions into the question and answer tab below. So tonight, I also want to call your attention to the final slide of the evening, which is an encouragement to donate. Now, our community has always been a generous one. And with all that's happening in the world, the art we make and the stories we tell ourselves are more important than ever. So please, join me in donating to ACT so we can continue this great work. I want to thank you so much, and it is my great pleasure here now to introduce playwrights Kirsten Potter and Keiko Green.
You're very close to the camera. Hi, Kirsten.
Hey, Keiko.
Oh, it's just you and me now.
Yeah, it's us. I'm not sure how to do this right. Okay, there we are. Hi.
First of all, where are you? Where are you zooming in from?
I'm in Seattle. I'm in my office. One of the many things that quarantine has taught me is that my new house doesn't have any doors. So it's very difficult to get quiet for these Zoom conversations. So Charlie has banished the children to the lower floor of the house so that we get a little quiet for this moment.
So you don't have any doors, so you're just kind of trapped inside.
Yeah, it's very open. And there are moments, I will say, during quarantine when I really wanted to slam a door and I didn't have a door. Like, the bathroom just doesn't have the same effect, you know? It's like, okay, now I'm in the bathroom. So
yeah, now you're stuck in the bathroom.
And you are in San Diego, right?
I'm in beautiful La Jolla, as if you could see it. I'm in beautiful La Jolla, San Diego. It is very hot here. We have air conditioning. If you see a breeze blow my hair beautifully, that is a fan that I have set conveniently to my feet there.
It's not a music video, you're working out.
It's not, well, it is also a music video, but whatever, it's not a big deal. Can we talk about the first time we met?
Yes, I don't remember. It's funny watching those core company photos because I remember I didn't know most of that group, and I didn't know anybody well, and we were all so nervous trying to figure out what this was and what we were going to get to do, and a lot of excitement and fear and anxiety. And I had seen you on stage, but I don't remember really talking to you. And the show that I saw you on stage the first time was at Seattle Rep. It was The Comparables. And I think we have a photo of this, which I would love to put up because there it is. Okay, so just so the audience knows what I'm talking about, this was the first image I had of Keiko. So notice the black stilettos, the leather, the miniskirt. She was one of the most intimidating and powerful women I had ever seen on stage. And Linda, who she's on there with, is a friend of mine from LA, and she's a powerhouse. And Keiko in this photo, you can see, is like taking her on, and you'd probably put money on Keiko here. So I was thrilled and daunted and excited to know that after however many years in Seattle, I was finally going to get to do a show with you, which we finally did in November of 2016.
That's right. And the first time I saw you was also at the Seattle Repertory Theater doing View from the Bridge. Was that before? That was before Comparables, I think. View from the Bridge. Is that right? I don't know. But anyway, we had briefly met through Amy Daneker. We were walking on. Yeah, there's Amy Daneker. Bless her. Who was Amy Daneker by then, or maybe Amy Hill? I don't know. But anyways, I remember meeting you very briefly.
Oh, I lost. There she is.
Am I back? Yeah, I know. But the first time we actually had a conversation, I think, was at that photo shoot for the court company. And I'm sure it was like, "Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Keiko." Yeah. It was a very robotic. Yeah,
it was a very energetic day. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna shoot some questions at you about your play.
Yes, that's what we're here for.
Let's do this. Okay. So, what's your play? Like, what's it about? What's your play? What's it called? What's it called? What's it about? What's it really about?
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My play is called Rubicon, and the title comes from the ancient reference crossing the Rubicon. And the idea behind that is that there are certain journeys we take, and at some point we will, somebody's got, I think, John, you might have your audio still on. I'm hearing somebody in the background there. There are certain journeys that we take that we cross a threshold and we can't come back. Or if we do, we will forever be changed. And that image really stuck in my head as I was learning about this woman that the play is about, Betty Pack. She existed. She lived in the 40s and 50s. And oh, there she is. That was her wedding day when she married her first husband, who was a British diplomat. She was a young society debutante coming out in DC, and she was groomed to be the good wife, the hostess. And she was a bit of a rebel, bit of a wild child, I guess you could say. And she found herself in the family way and needed a partner. And so she found this man. And the true story is she met him at a party. She kind of staked him out, like she had her eye on him, and planted herself in his bed fully naked. seduce him, and it worked, and he married her like when she announced, "Can you believe it? I'm pregnant," and he dutifully married her, and her life started as this debutante society wife for the British government. But she quickly discovered she had a lot of skills, and
can I just really quickly just talk about this tactic of planting yourself naked in someone's bed? That works, huh?
I can't speak to it personally. I don't think I would go about a relationship that way, but yes, I think it probably has its effectiveness.
All right, great.
So she was a spy. She became a spy. She got tapped by MI6 and recruited unofficially, and worked for them for years. And the Enigma machine, and there were, countless things that she uncovered. And what was probably most fascinating to me about her was that I had never heard her. I've never heard of her. I'd never heard her name. And that pissed me off. This was in 2016 as we were watching Hillary and some of the glass ceiling that we were all becoming more and more aware of. And I think I felt compelled to do something to tell this one woman's story. So,
how did you come across her story at all?
There was a blurb about her. I think it was in Vanity Fair that John Lang showed me. Because Hollywood has been developing a movie of this woman for, I think, a decade. Like, they've been working on it forever, and it'd probably be a great movie. And I remember thinking, well, why write a play about this? Hollywood's going to do it. Jennifer Lawrence is going to play it. They don't need me to do that. And then I started thinking about her story and the theatricality of it. To me, in theater, what we do is we wear masks, right? We change ourselves to become a new person. And that's what she did. Artifice is part of spycraft. And as I started to take apart the box of spycraft and think about the parallels to my couple decades in theater, there are similarities. And I started to get excited about the idea of putting this puzzle box together in a way that that theater craft could underscore this artifice, that we didn't know who was who. Is it the idea that you can change locations and change people, and that's just a reality that we accept about theater. If somebody in a movie came on disguised and we recognize, we'd call it out, but in theater we're given a little bit more freedom to pretend and take on different personalities, and we don't know whether it's intentional or whether they're a new character or whether they're the original character disguising themselves as another character. So it gave it a level of puzzle craft, spy craft, that I thought was actually kind of exciting. And so everything's designed. John and Braden they both helped me workshop this play at various times. And I think John told me they both kind of made fun of me for trying to direct the play in my stage notes, which I've had to let go of. But the design of the production is to be, nothing is what it seems to be. Not even a scenic element is what it appears to be. Everything is changeable. So. And
there is that really, such a fun, exciting thing that you can do in your play, that you incorporate, which you can't quite do on film or TV, which is the use of that doubling, how characters kind of parallel each other. I found that to be really, really juicy in your play. Yeah.
For many years as an actor, we've all played roles that are not as interesting, and it can be very frustrating. And one of the things I was trying to craft was that all of the threads, there's 5 actors, every one of them has something really interesting to gnaw on during the course of the show. Something, and those echoes come up later. The characters that they double as, that changeability is part of the construct of the play.
It's very cool. So where did what's the driving force behind the play that's not the story?
I think I came upon that during the course of the multiple drafts, and there have been a lot of drafts. I'm sure there are more. Because I think as I got to, I was all for the feminist aspect of this play. I mean, a strong woman, I'm going to give some actress a really great role to play, and this is going to be great. And then I realized I was starting to judge Betty. She's not perfect. She is was a deeply flawed person. She's a deeply flawed character. And as I was trying to be this godlike moralist playwright writing down to her, I made some really bad drafts of the play. And I realized that it was not my job to judge Betty. You know, I may not mother the way that she mothered. I hope she abandoned her children. You know, that's a choice.
That's like in scene 1.
Yeah, I'd have
Really
yeah, she was not super maternal, but she was a hero. You know, so once I got my judgment out of the way, this character got really interesting, because the audience, they're going to judge her. That's fine. They judge us when we're playing characters. They're going to judge us when we're writing them, and that's okay. But I can't do that to her. That's a disservice to her. And when I allowed her just to make some bad choices, or not even call them bad choices, make the choices that she needed to make in that situation, then, and for all the characters, then they started to get much more colorful and interesting.
That's great. What do you hope that people walk away from your play with?
I mean, first and foremost, I think going to the theater should be fun. I don't want to feel bad. I mean, it doesn't mean that the play can't be sad. It doesn't mean it can't be violent or dangerous or whatever, but I want to be entertained thoroughly and completely taken away from where I am and sent into this awesome new place. And I don't want to be preached to, and I don't want to be lectured. I can go to a lecture to be lectured. I'm going to the theater to be entertained. So that's what I set out to do first and foremost. I wanted to write a fun, funny, sexy spy caper. And that was a fun challenge. And then beyond that, I guess I want them to learn something about, I mean, a little bit about who she is, although there's biographies for that. You know, I'm not here to teach them about Betty Pack. I'm here to take them on a ride. But I guess maybe what I learned, I guess I can say that, was that the judgment doesn't help any of us. That we're all both. We're all complicated and messy and heroic and pathetic at different times, and that's sort of part of what makes us interesting.
Okay, so you keep using the word judgment, which I find really interesting, and it's like a
judgmental.
No. I was gonna say it's a perfect little segue into this next question, which is, you know, writing a play. Have you written before?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this is the first time I've taken this far.
Right, and a huge part of of the obstacles for most people, I think, when they're writing, is that judgment that comes from yourself.
Oh my God! Can
you just tell us about what it was like to write a full-length play? I mean, your first full-length play, pretty much, right?
No.
Oh no. Okay, but the one that you've workshopped the most, or
yeah, and most drafts, and just kept working and working and working. But yeah. I think the hardest part for me about writing is to shut down that horribly potent and convincing voice that tells me this is a joke, stop this isn't what you do, this isn't who you are, you're not trained to do this, you're not supposed to do this, nobody's asking you to do this. And she's a bitch, like she's horrible, she's very destructive. And it's tough to kind of get her to sit back a bit. So that's been difficult. But, you know, Betty taught me a lot about my judgment of her was useless and unhelpful. My judgment of myself is equally useless and unhelpful. And I guess it's just, it's a good exercise in endurance and patience, and just to, I don't know, try to remember to cut myself some slack. I've been a storyteller for decades, as an actor, as a narrator. So I try to shut her down by saying, this is a contiguous journey of storytelling. I've worked with playwrights, I've helped with their plays. This is now me just kind of taking the reins and really trying to drive my own stories. And it's not like me becoming a brain surgeon. There is actually a somewhat linear path that has brought me here. So I try to remember that.
And now, though, you're writing a new play also. Is that right?
I mean,
when
I've
did
got
you start it?
the latest one. I mean, there are like little threads, right? So there's little boxes of threads, and then I get something interesting that I want to put in one of those boxes. And when I get enough interesting bits, whether it's characters or scene ideas or themes or whatever, when there's enough thread in there, then I try to start weaving them together. So they're in various stages of completion, and that's been going on since, I mean, not so much with kids. It's hard to find the time and a full-time job and all that. But there's one of them that's, I've got nearly a draft, and it's a murder mystery.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Murder mysteries are on the rise. We just watched Knives Out for the second time.
Oh yeah, that's a fun one. This one is, I guess it's more psychological. It's a 3-character play. It's set in a small American town, and one of the things that, so the murder mystery part's to make it the fun, right? I want it to be a fun ride. But the themes that are intriguing to me right now and I've been stewing about for a while is this idea of otherness. I am feeling politically the other a lot. I have all sorts of names that I call them and all sorts of judgments that I make about them, and I don't want to understand them, and I feel like, okay, that's not helpful. I don't have to agree with them, but as an artist and as a human, it would probably serve me to try to do a little bit more work to understand. If I can't empathize, at least try to understand. So one of these characters is not somebody that I would agree with or want to have dinner with.
Right.
So it's written from his perspective. He's the sheriff investigating the crime. His wife, who has been living with this man for most of her adult life, and then the woman who is accused of the crime, and how their worldview has been informed by the way the town treats them, by their experience of living in this small community, how that has influenced how they feel about this crime, about guilt and innocence and complicity. And so it's a 3-hander that just keeps looking at this problem as we start to get the clues about what may or may not have happened.
That sounds really exciting.
Thank you. I'll let you read it.
Yes, please do. Is there anything else that you want to tell everybody about as far as Rubicon before I dig into a fun little video?
Oh my God. I don't know. I know one of the things they asked us to think about was the challenge of writing now in these times. And I do think that that's formidable, because the voice of why do this is even more potent for us, right? I mean, nobody can produce these plays unless they're Zoom plays.
Right.
But live theater isn't here right now. And I grieve that for a lot of reasons. But one of the things that I was realizing just the other day, we had a socially distanced drink with some friends outside with, lots of space. And I felt better than I had felt in a long time. And I went back at home and I was thinking about that and trying to understand what it was that was comforting me. And I realized that the thing that was making me feel better was that they were sharing their stories with me. They were telling me things that had happened to them that affected them and moved them. And I realized by hearing what touched them, I was touched. I was moved. And at this time when I am emotionally, mentally, and physically disconnected from all the people that used to feed me and inspire me and nurture me. I mean, I literally can't hug my friends, and it hurts. But that these stories make me feel less alone. And that's when I realized that there is a purpose to your voice, to my voice, to anybody that can help us feel those points of connection. And that made me feel better.
That's beautiful. And I love that you talk so much about that personal connection is, and the physical connection is just something that I think everybody is kind of losing their minds for right now. But you do have your beautiful children.
I do.
And this is the great segue into I love this video because you're so silly in it. And I think most people usually see you in like very intense plays.
Yeah, I've been told I'm scary, but I disagree.
So anything else you want to say to set this up, this video that you had made for ACT earlier?
I guess just that we got the assignment, as you know, from John to create something during quarantine to just reach out and let people know, hey, ACT is here and we're here. And the first couple videos came out and they were lovely and very earnest. Talking about isolation and we'll get through this together. And they were lovely and uplifting. But I thought, okay, there needs to be some silly here. I need to laugh. Let's see if we can so it became I took the kids out of homeschool that day and we did a storyboard and planned our shots. And my daughter edited my storyboards. She did not approve of some of my storyline. And we came up with this home movie.
Awesome, let's check it out.
This is an abridged version.
As my kids' new homeschool teacher, we've been exploring all sorts of ways to tap into their intellect and their creativity.
Put everything in all at once!
So while I know the tendency is to be angry and sad and confused and lonely right now, in the midst of this, I hope you will take the time to see this opportunity as a gift. Okay, kids, could you untie me now?
And as always, what amazing hair you have.
It's big. It's big. Yeah. So that was fun. We had a good time. We had a good time. The kids, I think that was their favorite day of homeschool. So I guess we aren't speaking of kids, but we are speaking now of your life and relationships. And I remember when we did get to finally work together and get to know each other, it was backstage during Dangerous Liaisons because we shared the same dressing room table. And
we never had a scene together, did we?
No.
We were never on stage together.
that play doesn't really like women anyway. We won't get into that. But that was the same season that you were in a play called Stupid Effin' Bird.
Let's just say it.
Can we do that?
Let's say Stupid Fucking Bird. That's the name of the play. We have to say it. Am I fired?
Yeah, no, you were in this play. You got to work with an actor from Seattle that I think you had probably met before, but you got to pretend to fall in love with each other, which that's also coincidentally how I met my husband. We were cast in a play where we hated each other. So same idea. So you guys fell in love on stage and then fell in love off stage.
MJ and I actually, we had met only briefly. We had I don't even remember this. I didn't remember that this was him, but we actually met at the audition, really.
I bet he remembers. So it was fast forward a couple months after, so there you guys are. Fast forward a couple months after this show. Well, not yet. That's like years later. So we're hanging out.
A couple months later, we were hitched.
Right? You got, did a play, did a wedding. So we're backstage during Dangerous Liaisons, and we got to talk through all of this Sturm and Drang. Like, it was what do we do? How do we keep being ourselves and being true to what we want to do and our goals and our dreams, and compromise everything to be with this other person and make room and carve out all this space? How do you do that? How do you do that as a woman and an artist and a human? And so we worked it all out. We had
some great talks.
And I think thanks to my influence, that she decided to then go forward and show the floor. So then this happened.
Oh my God, we got married. Wow.
It was awesome. And the woman in the hat behind them was the director of the show that you guys met and fell in love on. And
yes, Jessica Kobzanski, artistic director of Boston Court Theater in LA.
Yep.
She flew up and yeah, she married us.
Yep.
And you were there.
Yes. There's and many other Seattle artists.
Yeah, there's a John one, and that has some other stupid fucking bird people in it.
Yep.
So,
Lots of great folks there. So yeah, you had the whole Seattle arts community for the most part. I was so thrilled to be there, and so thrilled to see you guys keep taking that journey together. So I'm so excited. And the journey has now taken you to an MFA program.
That's right.
UCSD?
Yeah, UC San Diego. It's an awesome program. I just finished my first year as an MFA playwright under Naomi Iizuka, who is a playwright that I remember reading her stuff in undergrad. So it's just to be able to, we have hour-and-a-half long conversations about 25 pages that I sent her, so that part feels pretty surreal, just to be able to have someone like that, just, a phone call away, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, and it's not that you went out there blind. You had shows already produced here in Seattle that I think opened the door to getting into that program. And this was a huge accomplishment, just getting in, and you kind of earned your way up to that, which is so exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, there were a couple plays over at Annex Theater where I wrote a lot of, there was a point where I was writing monthly 10-minute plays for them and their Spin the Bottle variety thing, which was Friday nights at 11:30 p.m. And then I would have to leave 10 minutes early to rush to the ferry to get on the boat to then get home. Otherwise, I was stuck in Seattle. It was a real wild time. Yeah, but then eventually Sound Theater Company produced Nadeshka, which kind of was the big...
Wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a real kind of jumping off point where I really started to think, maybe playwriting is the path for me, which is exciting.
Yeah. Now, does that, just a quick jump in here, does that mean acting is not a path for you anymore, or is it just kind of keep the doors open?
Doors are open. But right now, as far as what I'm actively kind of grinding towards is definitely more in the writer direction. But if people ask me to audition for something or want me to be a part, I'm a sucker. I'll jump in. I'll be happy to. One thing I've never done is performed in my own play, which I don't know if I would ever do that, but.
Have you ever written with your own voice in mind?
I think that we all always are writing in our own voice in a way, The strange thing is I often find myself writing a lot easier for, I do often write a young Asian American character, a young female character, and I that character actually tends to be harder to write for me than the person that is not my personal experience. So if I have, for example, in WAD, I find writing for the male character, the older male, easier than writing for the young female, which is kind of strange. I don't know why that is.
So getting to WAD, I want to know, first of all, what the title means.
Great. Originally this play was, by the way, going to be done at our play festival at UC San Diego in the spring, which got canceled. Everything got, the world got canceled. And it's a two-hander. And originally it was called The History of Death. which I think is a cool title. It just, as more, Black people were being killed on the street by police during that time, especially during that time, I was just like, this history of death isn't a really great, it's not the history of death, because there are, to me, that title then brought on a lot of a representation that isn't part of the play. So we kind of had to rethink what to call it. And WAD came up, MJ and I were kind of spitballing the paper, crumpled up paper is a huge part of the play, because it's a play about pen pals, but we see them really, we don't see them writing letters ever, but we do see them throwing little crumpled up papers at each other. Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Stage. And so we were just kind of thinking about like what kind of imagery could we find that gives us that feeling of like a dirty piece of paper. WAD also kind of it just sounds used up to me. It sounds like dirty. And the story is about two people who are dirty and kind of used and kind of chewed up, like a wad of gum too.
Both because we're talking, so, they don't know what we're talking about yet, so we got to fill in what WAD's about. But because I'm curious, because I wouldn't have said that niece was in that situation. She's sort of just beginning. So I'll pause. Can you give everybody like a quick rundown of what this play is about, who these people are?
Yeah. So the play, so WAD is about, it's a two-hander, meaning there's two actors, but they play a lot of characters, kind of. The idea here being that it's a play, there's Jim, who is 40, he's on death row, and he has an execution date coming up. It's in about, in 6 months, when the play starts. And then our other character is Niece, who is kind of a mystery. She's a teenage girl, she's 18, she's in high school, she's about to graduate, and she finds Jim on writeaprisoner.com, which is a real website, and they begin this kind of unexpected relationship. And the relationship is hugely centered around these fantasies that they kind of live out. Yeah. The play itself doesn't, if you take it literally, it's you might get a little thrown off, because again, it's pen pals, but we're seeing them talk directly to each other. And their fantasies too. They just kind of like build them as they go along, and so we kind of are being jerked around by these two who are building these worlds together, and through that are getting closer and closer. So that's kind of the idea of the play.
And that was one of the things thematically that fascinated me, was watching these two characters develop a genuine relationship. They really were in different ways became to be dependent on one another. And yet the relationship is based on layers and layers and layers and layers of lies and fabrications and dramatic interpretation. I mean, just fantasy. There's so much in there that has nothing to do with either of their realities. And we don't know what's true and what's not, and it's fun watching it kind of crumble apart and try to figure out what's left that's truth between them. But the lack of truth doesn't prevent the connection, which I find fascinating. Yeah,
in a way, it almost allows them to have this goal about each other. That, there's a puzzle that they have to kind of figure out, and they're both kind of unraveling, trying to find the truth within the lies, which is really exciting. And there's also this thing about, we live in a digital world. Though these people are pen pals and they're writing letters, it's so easy to pretend to be someone else. It's so easy to hide who you really are. And this is a play that I kind of want. I really just wanted to kind of play with that idea and explore how far can you go, and how, at what point do you have to tell somebody to kind of, at what point do you have to reveal to somebody who you are and the truth by yourself?
Well, and then to just kind of up the stakes and add another thematic thread, that it's not just a dating app where they're pretending to be somebody else. He's on death row. His life is coming to a close if this all continues, and she is one of his only points of contact. And I find it I find it fascinating that you added that layer of context into it. Was that, I mean, obviously it was intentional, but what brought you to death row with this play?
Oh, great. Yes. So I am obsessed with true crime podcasts. MJ and I have been binging old Dateline recently. And that's a really, it's really popular right now. True crime, particularly since that the podcast Serial, which kind of really boosted it, and in the younger generation, I think, we started. And so anyway, I've been listening to those podcasts forever. There's this podcast, My Favorite Murder, which young women are really into. And so especially with young women, I just kind of was wondering what the deal is. Like, why are we so obsessed with murderers? And I read a lot of really interesting things about, women are usually not, women are much more likely to feel scared when they're walking alone late at night. And so by consuming these stories, it's our way of kind of gaining control in a subject matter that we are usually, we're usually the victims of. So I thought that was like a kind of interesting way to look at things. And so this is all because of podcasts, and I had found out a lot of really interesting information about the death penalty, about, in a way, execution by firing squad is actually a better way to, people argue that it's a better way to go than lethal injection, because people die instantly versus sometimes they have these, these problems, these people who are, slowly dying over 2 hours excruciatingly through lethal injection. And so there's a lot of really, it brought a lot of really complicated feelings up in myself. And also, I always thought I was a person that that was against the death penalty. I think a lot of us, liberals are, if you ask, they'll say I'm anti-death penalty, but then when the Golden State Killer was caught, and, as a 70-something-year-old man, after, raping and murdering so many people, it kind of, I actually sat down and I thought, I don't know, I can't say, like, maybe some people don't get to be sitting and breathing the same air as us. I don't know. And it kind of brought up a lot of really complicated feelings that I had. Mm-hmm. And I thought that, I think a lot of people, if pressed or if you ask a lot of questions, really kind of live in a gray area when it comes to what they think is right or wrong, when it comes to, the death penalty in general in the United
I would
States.
imagine if we're not at least a little gray, then we're not looking at both sides. I mean, if it was easy, there wouldn't be a debate. And I'm extremely opinionated, and I can still say that it's like, okay, yes, I have my feelings, but in certain situations, it's hard not to have it shift or get complex or muddied.
Right. And sorry. No, I was going to say, just the question of, it changes whether if your relative is a victim versus your relative is the accused,
Right. With this play, did you write it with Zoom in mind, with digital theater in mind?
No, I wrote this for the theater. But what was so cool about it was that it required very little actual set. It's a 2-person play. It lives so much in imagination, and we thought it would be like really easy and kind of fun to produce minimalistically. Okay. And as soon as I had originally wanted to do a different play called Hometown Boy for the slot as part of the ACTLocal series.
I remember, yeah.
But as soon as we were working digitally, then it kind of moved to, I told John, I was like, I think I have a way better play that might actually be able to take advantage of this instead of just kind of being like a womp womp, put a play on Zoom. And so we did a workshop of it with an amazing cast. They're kind of my like dream cast.
Pictures of these guys.
Oh yeah. Avery and Rachel, who are both core company members.
Yep.
Yeah, and
you guys are actually going to do a production, right? I mean, that people can see.
Yes, we have a meeting set up for sometime soon, to kind of figure out what the next steps are to actually put this on as a digital production, because I think every play doesn't work in a digital setting, but this one is going to be awesome.
That's so cool. All right, we don't have much time. What are you working on right now that you are most excited about besides WAD?
Oh, okay. Other than WAD, I'm working on this play called Exotic Deadly, or the MSG play, which is it's a kind of exploration. I found out my grandfather in Japan worked for Ajinomoto, which is this company that basically manufactures MSG. And there's a lot of misinformation about MSG, and a lot of that has to do with racism. But honestly, I wanted to kind of mirror that, the MSG having to be hidden, and a lot of what Asian Americans have to deal with, which is confronting the model minority and kind of that self-hatred, or that internalized racism. And so those two things are mirrored in a it sounds very serious. It's the wackiest play I've ever read. I mean, I've ever written. There's a point where, there's a Dragon Ball fight. It's so funny. I think it's really fun. It makes me laugh when I read it. So I think that's a good sign.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so it's fun to go from this death penalty play into like the wackiest play I've ever written. So.
Take it off. Yeah. We are either entering into some Q&A. I know we do have a moment that just makes me smile. That's with you at home in quarantine, and when you posted this video as part of our assignment, I literally started crying with joy because I thought at least somebody's happy.
This is myself and MJ singing a song that we sang together in Stupid Fucking Bird, with the addition of our new biological son, Gus. Enjoy.
Enough on and on.
While your child's sleeping, while the weeping willows in the yard, it's hard to make it through a single day unmarred or unscarred, and then life happens.
Now that you've started, though you've been thwarted, try again to begin every single day as though you're gonna win.
The first time I got to sing was that act. That's so fun.
Oh, for Bad Apples, right?
For Stupid Fucking Bird. I sang 3 songs. Yeah, I had to learn the ukulele. Ukulele's around here somewhere.
That was my first little moment of pure joy and happiness during the quarantine. I was so thrilled to see that video. Thank you.
I highly recommend anyone that's still staying at home, get a puppy. The perfect time to potty train.
Hi there, everyone. This is Gail Benzler, and I am the marketing director here at ACT. I'm joining you as your moderator tonight because we're pretty excited about this. It's time for Q&A, and that means you get to ask your questions, Keiko and Kirsten. It's super easy to participate. Just click on the Q&A button. You'll see that below in your Zoom box, and you can type your question. And through the magic of technology, I'll be able to relay your questions to Kirsten and Keiko. So we've already got a few coming in. Keiko and Kirsten, you guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right, let's dive right in. So first question comes from Eleanor, and she's asking both of you guys, maybe we'll do Kirsten first, what's your biggest dream for your playwriting?
Playwriting in general or for Rubicon?
I think for playwriting in general.
Well, I mean, to keep doing it, to have the courage to keep doing it, and to have people want to collaborate with me. I'm not as, oh, there's Gus. I can't think when Gus is.
Sorry.
I would like to see collaboration happen. I've gotten, as an actor, to participate in some pretty awesome workshops nationally. The Denver Center's got one. They're all over the country. And as a mom with 2 young children, I can't go do plays for a long time away like that anymore. But as a playwright, for a week or 2 to workshop and develop and make it better, and then kind of hand it off and let my collaborators make it even better, I'd love to get to do that, because it would allow me to continue telling stories in live theater on the national level, which I can't do very much right now. So I would love to get to do that, to go do some of these awesome play festivals.
Keiko, what about you?
Yeah, my dreams, my goals as a playwright. I've had a lot of time to think about this as I was applying to schools last year, because you have to write an essay about that pretty much for every school. So yeah, I think right now my goal is to write 3-4 plays. In some capacity, write like 3 plays a year and get those out. I definitely want that to be on stage at ACT. I want them to be on stage at all kinds of Lord theaters. I want, who knows what New York theater will be like. But you know, I want that. I really want to be, I want my work out there. And I also want to be working in TV. I'd love to start, you know, I think TV is an awesome medium, and there's a reason why a lot of playwrights are going in that direction these days. So it's my dream.
I love it. I love that you guys get to talk about your dreams. And kind of jumping off of that a little bit, J.W. Marshall wants to know, he says, regarding trying to direct the play via stage directions as playwrights, do you find you have any say in how seriously your stage directions are attended to? I think he wants to kind of understand how you negotiate stage directions and tell your stories.
I'll jump in, because that's riffing off of the comment I made. I think it's important to advocate for your vision as a playwright, as an actor, as a director. I think it's important to advocate for what you passionately believe in about the project. And this work isn't done in isolation. What I love most about making plays from whatever angle I'm involved is that more smart people putting their ideas into the mix makes the play better. And I think it's great to come in with strong ideas, but we have to say yes and, as opposed to no but. It's like an improv game, right? So the more open we can be to other people's creative genius, the better we are, the better the play is. So I mean, I think it's important to advocate, and I think it's important to let it go if somebody's got a better idea.
Yeah, I think, you know, I used to be a lot more vague, and then there were times that I felt my work had been, had not been undermined, but the intention had actually gone in the exact opposite direction because someone added a fun flourish to it that literally changed the entire meaning of something I wrote. And that happened a few times. And so now, you know, you have control of a world premiere. You're usually there with the director. You have some kind of relationship. When it comes to, you know, later on in the run and other, you know, second productions, third productions, it's less so. But I do think that there is something about, you know, it's not about people doing exactly what you said. It's about people understanding what your intention is. And so as long as your intentions are specific and they understand that, I think even if they end up doing something completely different, it will ultimately have the same effect.
Well, we've got our next question. This is from Charlie. He wants to know if you guys have favorite scenes in Rubicon and WAD. What are those?
Each other's or our own?
How about your own? Let's do that. Let's start with that. He also says he loves spy capers. So Kirsten, I think you've got a fan.
My favorite scene, it's complicated. And Wad, I love the scenes that they are themselves and just talking straight. Those are really great. But I also, because specifically because it's Avery, we had in the workshop, it was really fun because there's a fake crucible scene in which there's a witch, and this, you know, he's coming in and telling her that she's a witch and she's gonna have to be burned. And it's a really silly version of the crucible that kind of takes a couple stabs at it. And that's especially fun because Avery was in that play, basically playing a character like that.
That's awesome. I could see him doing it. I mean, my favorite scenes are the spycraft scenes where we're kind of watching. I got a great note, probably from John, at one point, that we need to see it. Don't tell us. Let us see it. Let us see her do what she does so well. So there's a scene where Betty is in bed with her latest mark, and another mark that she's working at the same time is also in the room. It's two different rooms. It's happening at two different times. But Betty is taking in the information from one and using it to control, manipulate, and influence the other. She's bouncing back and forth between both conversations simultaneously. And sometimes the answers apply to both, and sometimes it's clearly one or the other. And it's just this, it's not literally a dance, but I imagine it like a dance where she's sort of tangoing with two partners at the same time. So that's one of my favorite moments.
Again, scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, what's really interesting though is that Rubicon takes place in the past, but it's also kind of about unprecedented times, right? I mean, certain events that are kind of leading to what happens in Betty's world. And so I'm segueing to a question that Martha and John have, where they want to know from both of you guys, we're living in unprecedented times now. Does that have an effect on the message or the elements of the plays that you're either writing or workshopping now?
Sorry, there was a noise. So the idea of the current situation that we're living in impacting how the play feels, resonates? Is that the question?
That's it, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I'm certainly influenced by the unbelievable time that we're in kind of everything I do right now. It's so pervasive for me. At the same time, I'd like to think that this play can exist. It reminds, like Daisy was a play that was written very specifically about a very specific time, and we wanted to produce it in a very specific year back in 2016 at ACT. We're in that situation again in 2020, and I think it would be, I think it's interesting that it can be timely, but also timeless. I would hate to see that Rubicon couldn't exist past this year, and I don't think that's the case. I hope not, because we won't get to produce it this year.
What I find actually to in a way actually be even more poignant right now, it's about two people that are feeling really isolated and lonely, which is why they start reaching out to each other in the first place. And we actually talked a lot about that in the workshop. Just you know, these, you know, it's what Kirsten was saying earlier, just that need to connect with people, you know, just missing hearing stories and having conversations and making real connections. And so, yeah, I think that this, in a way, WAD actually is, has kind of even brightened in our current climate, which was unexpected to me.
Well, thank you guys. This was a lot of fun, and I don't know about our audience, and I'm sure that they learned a lot just like I did. I just want to thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk with us and give us some insight into your plays and working in today's environment, and about some insights into what you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.